This is one of the 4 basic sources of French cuisine onto which you can build, so you can make these sauces different, but this is just the 4 basic sources of French cooking. And this is one of them. It's called a white sauce or a bechamel sauce, and it's what we're going to turn into a cheese sauce. And you can turn it into anything you like, so, well, within reason. And so, first of all, you add 25 grams of butter into a pan. This is actually my 3rd time doing this, my 3rd take, because the first 2 times the pan was too hot. So the butter started bubbling and going brown, which is no good for what we want. So this is take 3. That's much better now. I cooled down the pan by putting it into cold water, and so now it's not too hot, and the butter is melting just as it should. Before it was all going all bubbly and brown, which is not going to work for our sauce. So that would not work. We've also got some chopped fried tomatoes, some cheese, some pasta. You don't have to add this to pasta, but I think it's very nice to. Now we add to our melted butter, we add 25 grams of flour, which is how much we had of butter. And then what we do is we mix that to form what's called a roux, R-O-U-X, a roux. And it's sort of, well, it's hard to describe, I'll show you it when it's made. This is a roux, nearly. It's just a mixture of that flour and butter, and it sort of forms a sort of solid, I don't know what you'd call it, like a solid thing. And that's our roux. And then what we do is, once our roux is formed like that, we then leave it for about a minute to cook. And what that cooking does is it takes out the taste of the flour. So a minute there. Just leave that. And in the meantime, we need some warm milk to add to this. When I did it without warm milk, with cold milk, when I forgot, it did not go well. So just going to microwave some milk for a minute and leave that roux to do what it needs to do. I'll pause the video because I don't have a huge amount of memory space. Roux is cooking. It looks a bit different to usual, which I fear is because I've got a bit of tomato, fried tomato in it accidentally. So I'm not sure if this will work or not, but anyway, let's have a go. Adding some milk. That's okay. It's behaving differently to normal. I think this is going to be a disaster, but okay. I've made this so many times and it has not gone wrong, but ho hum. So what we do now is we mix the milk and the roux until it should form a sauce. So it should be quite a thick sauce, but smooth. That's why you add in the milk gradually, to get rid of all those lumps, and we're using a whisk. So it should be a smooth, thick sauce, no lumps. Every time I do this sauce and other things so many times, and as soon as I record it, some sort of disaster happens. I think it's because the tomato got in there, because I've never seen it act like that before. Oh well. So mix that, keep on mixing it until it goes thick. You'll know when it's going thick. It's not thick enough yet. Once it gets thick, we put it on the lowest heat and leave it to cook for a bit. So that's still not thick enough. This is one of my most favourite things to cook and eat. It's really lovely. So, nearly there. I think that's thick enough now. And what we can do is we can tell from when it bubbles how thick the roux is. Because if it bubbles like water, it means it's the white sauce is. If it bubbles like water, we know it's thin. But if it bubbles, yeah, see, look, that's thick now. That's a thick sauce. The lumps are from the spoon. The sauce isn't lumpy, I don't think. The spoon is. Now, we need to cook that for a brief period of time. And whilst we leave that to cook, I'm going to add an egg to the pasta. Just crack that egg in, wash my hands, and I'll be back to the video. So we've got an egg broken on top of our pasta there, but we'll leave that for now. We come back. That's cooking, and what we do now is we add in the cheese, like so, cheese into there, and so that's now going to make a cheese sauce. So remember the other day I just melted cheese over the pasta. Melting cheese over pasta is not a cheese sauce. This is a proper cheese sauce. If you were a chef and they said make a cheese sauce, this is what you'd make, not just melted cheese. And also we add in those lovely fried tomatoes. I need 2 hands to do this. So we've got a fried tomato and cheese sauce on its way. We now need to season this with bits of salt and black pepper for cooking, because white pepper is what goes on the plate after cooking. So salt, just a little bit for seasoning. You don't need much salt because the cheese provides a lot of seasoning for salt. Just a little bit of salt goes in there, not much. Pepper, black pepper. Just whack quite a lot of black pepper in. Try not to hold the sauce pot over the top of the the pepper pot over the top of the saucepan, because it will get clogged up with steam, the little holes, as the pepper gets wet. And use a bit of white pepper as well, because there's not enough pepper in there to suffice. In goes some pepper, that'll do. Mix our pepper into and salt into our cheese and fried tomato sauce. Let all that cheese melt nicely. Now there should be. Is there anything else I can add to this? Black peppercorns? No. Paprika. Let's add a bit of paprika just for a nice bit of flavour. There's not enough ingredients. No, we can't add the paprika. It was out of date. Like 7-8 months ago. That shouldn't be in the cupboard anymore. So a little what have we got here? We need to add a bit more stuff really, because this is lacking. Cinnamon would not work. We'll add a bit of English mustard. Is this in date, I wonder? May 2018. Shara May 2018. Tiniest bit of English mustard, because it's not like French mustard, it's very strong. Because English people are stronger than French people. Right, just kidding. Right, mix that in. I've used mustard before, but it was French mustard, but I'm sure this English mustard will work just as well. Right, now, leave that on a very low heat whilst we turn on the heat under our pasta. Cooked pasta, 11 minutes on the boil. it sort of falls apart, it gets far too wet if you cook it for longer than that. So the egg coats our pasta until it forms like basically a pasta coated in scrambled egg. I learned this from a TV presenter here. Well, I learned the one on the right, the bechamel sauce, from a presenter called James Martin, and then this I learned from a presenter called James May. Oh, my arm is getting burned. So the egg, mix it. Just coat the egg, pasta in that egg, until you've got this sort of nice fluffy egg coating on your pasta. Mix that around. You sort of want basically pasta with scrambled egg on it, sort of coating it. Right, that egg is now cooked and it's coating the pasta as we want it to. I'm spilling pasta. Okay, so the pasta's now the egg's now coating our pasta. So we now tip on our white sauce, our bechamel sauce, which is no longer, you don't really call it that anymore. It's now called a fried tomato, cheese, mustard sauce, seasoned with salt and pepper. And so that goes on. All those lumps in that sauce is just a fried tomato.